I'm actually probably a minute late because I discovered I had lots of privacy settings on my phone that I had to turn off in order to do this. So anyway, I was going to wait a few minutes and see if anybody pops up. I am going to be talking to you today a little bit about working with your children at home during this unusual time. I know some of you are already homeschoolers and you might have a schedule and a way of life that works for you, and that's great. There might be others of you who are homeschooling and actually haven't figured out what works best for you yet. So maybe some of the things I will say today will help you. And then for those of you who are finding yourself suddenly at home with your children 24/7 and not sure how to get all your work done and how to accomplish your other tasks as well as working with your children, maybe some of the things I can tell you today and share with you will encourage you and help you on this unusual journey that we find ourselves on. I see Tennille is here now. Hi, Tennille. I know Anna's supposed to join us and Gail was going to join us and a few others are going to join us. If you have any questions or anything you even want to say, just feel free to type it there and I'll try to answer any questions. I know Anna had a question for me, so I'm going to wait until she comes on to talk about that. I will go ahead and just get started with some of the thoughts I had for today. And those of you who might miss the beginning of it, you can always go back and listen from the beginning. I'm not going to talk long. I probably will be on here about 15 or 20 minutes for this first one. And then if any more questions come up and people want more of these, I will continue to do more in the future. Okay, Tennille, it looks like it's just you and me for now. So we'll get started. First thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, there's Anna. Hi, Anna. I was waiting for you to show up. Gives me a little option to wave to people. How fun. Can you tell this is my first time doing this? Anyway. Hi, Barry. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to read a little excerpt from a book that I really enjoyed. I've had it for years and years. This is the book. Maybe it shows up backwards on there. I'm not sure. But it's called Seasons of a Mother's Heart. And it's a book by Sally Clarkson. And I have been a fan and a follower and even under the mentorship of Sally Clarkson for about probably 15, 20 years now, quite a long time. She is a wonderful, godly Christian woman from Colorado who has an unusual approach to homeschooling. She has a very gentle approach and, but very effective approach because her children, all of them, are very, very successful as adults now. But she has written many, many books, very encouraging books. May have to pop. Okay, no problem, Tennille. Come and listen when you can. No big deal. But I do want to read a little something out of here. There's lots of great things in this book. Like I said, Seasons of the Heart, Mother's Heart. But I just thought this was really interesting because I've been thinking about this a lot with my own children now that my older son, who's at university, has come home. And with him in the house and the different dynamics and actually how different my boys are, this has made these thoughts in this book come to mind. So here's what it says. One of our biggest things that we need to do with our children, whether we're home educating them or not, is to accept God's choice of your child's personality. And if you have, especially if you have multiple children, you're going to find that one or two of those children do not have a personality like yours. You might find that they conflict with your personality or you conflict with them. And it can be hard to adjust to that. And when your children get to go to school every day, it makes it a little bit easier. But when they're home, it makes it a bit more challenging. And so I just wanted to read what Sally had to say about this. And she uses scripture and Jesus' example to explain this. Okay? Oh, Gail's asking me if I'm going live, but I can't respond because I am live. She'll have to find us. Okay, here's what it says. When Jesus spoke with his disciples, he affirmed them according to their strengths and drives. Noting the faith and strength of the character within Peter, whose name means rock, Jesus says, "On this rock I will build my church." When he met Nathanael, he affirmed his straightforward personality. Here is a true Israelite in whom there is nothing false. When Martha accused Mary of being unhelpful, Jesus affirms Mary for being relationship oriented. See, there are lots of things that we see in our children that we might see in maybe a negative way, where God has given them those things in their personality for a reason. The thing that we have to do is to identify their strength and the good of it, and to realize how we can help them in their growing up. Again, whether you're homeschooling or not, these are things that we need to know. And so Sally says here, the first step to showing what we call sympathy to your child is to accept and affirm the unique personality that God has given him or her. Believe it or not, God did not give your child that personality just to help you grow. And I know I have often thought, God is working on me with this child. And I think a lot of times God is, but that was not God's sole intention when he made your child the way he did. Hi, Gail, I see you found us now. So one of the things that you might be able to focus on during this time with your children is actually getting to know them better. Understanding how they think, which is more than likely different than the way you think. Maybe the way they learn is different than the way you learn. And you know what? That is okay, because we don't have to be in a hurry during this time. I have heard it and seen it on the internet many times with doctors talking about this, that we are in a marathon. This is not a sprint. I know we're all hoping that come Easter, everything will be back to normal again. But as things progress, it seems like that may not happen. So we need to have a mindset. First of all, our mindset needs to be that we might be in this for the long haul. This might not just be for a couple of weeks. This actually might be for a month, or who knows, 6 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 months, who knows? We just need to be prepared for that. And so secondly, taking the time now to really get to know your child even more than you do. See what they like, see what their interests are, find out what they're really good at, and start working towards encouraging them in those ways. So that's my first advice to you, is not to panic, to slow down and just take this time to enjoy being with your children. I know there's a verse that we all know. It says, whatsoever thy thy hand to do, do it with all thy might. And we want to just really go strong with this sometimes, and getting our kids to do their work and being not just good parents, we want to be good teachers for them. We want to show that we can do this too. But sometimes when we're doing that, we're wanting them to do it according to our might. And we might be requiring them to do more than they're able to in their own ability. So getting to know them better and really focusing on them instead of what we want them to do can be helpful. Another verse that I think will be very encouraging to you, and these are verses that you are familiar with. You know these verses, you believe these verses, but sometimes we don't always practice things that are so familiar to us. So this verse is in Philippians chapter 4. You could probably quote it with me. It's verse 6. It says, be careful or anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And then it says, and the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Now, we know that verse, and actually we know that it's true, but are we practicing it? So I want to encourage you not to be anxious or worried about how your children are learning. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. And you're going to be surprised, some of you, when I say this. But 20 years from now, it's not going to matter how much schoolwork you did with your children right now. It's not going to matter one single bit. They could miss the whole next month of school and be okay. Now, I know that sounds shocking, and maybe some of you are thinking I shouldn't tell you that, but that's the truth of the matter. And I tell you that not to encourage you to neglect teaching them. I encourage you to take it easy, to relax and enjoy the process. Okay. So the next thing I'd like you to encourage you to do is get the big picture. And that's what thinking 20 years down the road will do for you. Get the big picture. I'm sorry this is shaking so much, but I had no way to prop this up. So it's in my hand and I can't talk with my hand. So apparently I'm shaking with my hand. Sorry. But anyway, get the big picture. 10, 15, 20 years from now, is it going to really matter how much schoolwork you got done during this next month or so? The answer is no. But what's going to matter is your relationships and how you develop those relationships and how you encourage your children to develop the minds that God has given them. And that's what learning does for them. That's what doing their schoolwork does for them. They may not see it that way, but you and I both know that is the point of what they're learning. So with the big picture in mind, not worrying about ticking all the boxes and knowing that in the long run it may not matter, focus on what does matter now. what is important right now. And what's important is connecting with your children. First of all, there are many children who do not understand what is going on in this world. Some of them might be afraid. Some of them might not have a care in the world. They all approach it differently. And it's interesting that our children, because they are missionaries, they've gone through deputation and they've lived a different life than all the other children around them, they handle these kind of crises in a different way. Many children learn, well, not many, I'll say a few children have learned to deal with it emotionally, with emotional outbursts. We call them the drama queens or however you want to refer it. They really just cannot cope and they let you know it. But I would say for the majority of the children, they've actually learned to cope internally. And what I mean by that is they keep things to themselves. They don't express them. Their fears and concerns might not be easily even shown because they're used to this lifestyle of just having to deal with the way things are, whether they like it or not. And those are the children really you need to be concerned about. You need to find out what's going on in their head and in their heart and where they're at during this time. And one of the best ways can be, again, spending time with them. Talking to them, sharing with them the things that are going on. You don't have to tell them all the scary bits, but you could just let them know the importance of what's going on and how serious it is. And that's why we're home and why we're not at school right now. There is a website, and I'll share it in the comments after I'm finished, a website that's called Be Naturally Curious. And up until this next week, I think it's the 31st of March, they are offering for free. They have a science experiment thing that has to do with DNA and how our DNA works and what RNA is, which is what this coronavirus has to do with, the RNA in our bodies. And so this website offers you this little course that you can do with your children. You can get it for free. I'll give you the free code and everything. And it might be something that you might want to do with your children. And I'm saying children 6, 7, 8, maybe even up to 12 would probably enjoy doing this and discovering more about their bodies and how it works and why this virus is so dangerous for us right now. So I'll put that link up. The next thing I want to encourage you to do with your children is to read with them. That is one thing that they can never get enough of. And that is one thing that will make a difference during this time, is to read with them. And I'm going to give you 2 different ways that we implement this in my house. One, my husband and I are avid readers. We enjoy reading. We enjoy reading real books, but we also enjoy audiobooks. And for some people, I know audiobooks aren't real, but you know what? They are real because there was I can't think of what the word is, but they did like an experiment to see how reading from a book affects your brain versus how listening to an audiobook affects your brain. And apparently it affects us the same way. We are still learning and activating those same areas of our brain, whether we're reading it ourselves or listening to it. So those 2 things count. And they work, and they are important for your children right now. So the 2 things that we do is, one, we have a set reading time. Now, with my other children, I had not a rigid schedule, but I kind of had a daily schedule when we did certain things. And then when Damien Jr. came home from uni, most of his university work was done. He was set to graduate in July. He just had a big project left. So he didn't have the same kind of schedule we had. But he also reads. He doesn't love to read, but he will read and listen to audiobooks and things like that. So what we wound up doing is setting up a time of quiet in our house. And it's in the afternoon. Dakota does his schoolwork. And then from 2:30 to 3:30 is reading time in our house. Even with our adult child here and our teenager, we have a reading time. We all go sit in the living room, or since it's been sunny out, some of us have been sitting on the back porch, and we've been reading. Now, reading includes books, audiobooks, anything like that. We're trying to get off our phones and other technology, but audiobooks, of course, go through your phone. But we want to focus on a book, and it can be any kind of book. And for your children, they might be old enough to have a time like that where they can just sit down and read. But what else you could do that is so beneficial to children of all ages is to read to them. So I would encourage you to pick a book. If you have children over the age of 5, get a chapter book. It's time. Chapter books are great for children, good for you to read to them because you're teaching them 2 things. You're teaching them to sit still and to listen. You're teaching them grammar because they are hearing the words that are written correctly and hopefully the books you're reading, and they will hear how grammar is used properly. They will also hear how to read with enthusiasm as you practice reading with enthusiasm to them. So I encourage you to be a good model of reading for your children, to read with them, but also to read your own sources of books, whether it is fiction, nonfiction, self-improvement, any kind of books. Just make sure that you are a reader and your children see you modeling that in your home. I have another website that I'm going to share with you that a friend of mine actually shared with me this morning, that Lamplighters, which have Christian character building books, and they have also audio dramas that you can get online, and they are having a big sale right now, 40 to 50% off of any of their materials on the website. You can get individual books, you can get sets, you can get audios. They also have an audio drama radio channel, so I will give you a link for that, because this would be a great time for you to do some character building. And these are good Christian books with good Christian characters that you want to develop in your children, which they may not often find. They may not often find at school. They can find good character books at school, but with a Christian emphasis, these are unique and would be special for your children. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about for today, well, it's kind of twofold, okay? It has to do with schedule. This is particularly, Anna, this is for you, because you asked the question, how do I get it all done? Okay, first of all, let's be realistic. We are not super women, and we cannot necessarily get it all done, okay? My husband and I have often thought God gives us children to be our helpers. We give them jobs to do and ways to help to get things accomplished in the home, because we're not just training them to read and to write, or arithmetic. We're training them to be people, to be adults one day, to care for a home. And these are things that it's really important for our children to help us with while we're at home, especially when they're all there and more dishes are being dirtied and more clothes are being dirtied and bathroom is used more often. These things are going to require more care with more people home. So it would be good for you to find some jobs for your children to help you with. You may already have some things already implemented, which is great. But I would just encourage them to do it and to work alongside you, and to maybe even be rewarded for the things they do. Now, I will say there is a difference in rewarding and in, ladies, help me. What's the word? Bribing. There's a difference in rewarding and bribing. And be honest with you, I have used both, not intentionally, just sometimes I want to really get something done. And I found when you're bribing does not work in the long haul. No. Matter of fact, it usually is at one offer, and then later they want to bribe again, and that is a very dangerous road to go down. So avoid the bribing, but set up an award system. Awards are set up beforehand, okay? It's set up as once you've accomplished these things, there will be a reward for that, okay? It's different than a bribe, but rewards are a great way to deal with things with your children, and I'll tell you why. God rewards us. And we always say we want to use God's word as a guide for how we do things in our own life. And even with our own children, I think it's proper and appropriate for us to offer rewards for them, because God does the same for us. If you simply think of Hebrews 11:6, God is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Well, we should be diligently seeking him, shouldn't we? We should already be doing that. And yet God says, I will reward you for doing what you should be doing. And so I encourage you to reward your children for doing the things that they should already be doing, because it gives them motivation. And also in the end, it helps them realize that they did something that was worthwhile and appreciated. And we all like to feel appreciated. Okay, so as far as scheduling, getting things done, most children tend to work better and think better. And even we tend to work better and think better in the morning. So when you have your schedule with your children, I encourage you to do it in the morning. It doesn't have to be early. This is a great time for you not to have to get them up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And for those of you who are worried, if I don't keep them getting up at 6 o'clock or 6:30 for school, when it's time to go back to school, they won't adjust. That is not true. I will tell you how I know this, because I have never had given my children a rigid schedule to get up to. Matter of fact, as they became teenagers, I let them sleep in, mostly out of my own selfishness, because I like to have a quiet, peaceful morning so I can get up without them, do my devotions, do whatever I want to do without worrying about them. And then once they get up, they can get busy doing their own work. Now, as a test of whether this works when they go into the real world, my son, Damien Jr., applied for a job at 16 to work in a warehouse. Well, the warehouse job started at 7 a.m. And really, I'm thinking, let's see if he can actually handle getting up and being at work at 7 a.m. when I rarely have gotten him up before 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. And you know what? He was never late, ever once to that job. As a matter of fact, he was dragging me out the door to take him on time. You know what? Kids, when they get older, they will get up. They will do it. When they find something they want to do and they're motivated, they can find a way to do it. And you know that because if they come home, it takes them forever to do their homework. But if they know they can get on the Xbox right away, all of a sudden it doesn't take so long. So anyway, they will find ways to motivate themselves. So give them a little bit extra time to sleep, get up, have breakfast together, and then get going on some work. If you have younger ones, and I say younger, like under 7 years old, even under 5 years old, and they have some work from school, they're not going to sit for an hour and get any work done. That's just not realistic. So plot out something they can do for 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and let them be done with it. When they're done, give them some time to play. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, but give them some time to play and do something different and then go back to work again. And once you realize that they cannot focus anymore, you could be done for the day. Say, hey, let's go read a book instead. Or why don't we go build something with the Legos? Let's go make some brownies. Find something else constructive for them to do with you. And I know you're hearing me say with you a lot, but this might be the only time some of you actually have the opportunity to do this stuff with your children during the day. So I encourage you to take advantage of that. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is multi-age children. If you have children, say you have a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-old, whatever, and you see, especially the older ones coming home with different work and more requirements and things to do, and your younger ones won't let them get their work done. Take a look at their work and find what things that you might be able to do together. Okay, there might be some reading. The history, you might be able to read their history lesson with the little ones there. The 1-year-old might have to play with some blocks or something else. But you can incorporate all of them together in their studying. You can do science together. If there's maybe a little experiment, they can help in some way to do it. Things that they can do together. Reading. If your older children have reading they need to do, let them read to their younger brother or sister. That's a great thing for them to do. And it might even free up a little time for you as well. So I encourage you to try to do as many things together as you can. And on top of all that, just remember the most important things. If you're someone who thinks I need to do something with my kids, they need to learn every day. Listen, the 3 R's are still true. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Those are the main things that they need to do. And the ones that slip the most are reading, and of course their math skills. And even if you don't teach them new things, encourage them with the things they've been learning. Find ways to play games with it. They can count with objects. Right? They can practice their fractions through baking. There's lots of different ways, hands-on ways that they can do these things that will encourage them and motivate them and make it a more joyful journey for you and your children. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I don't see any more questions. Anna, I hope that I've helped you in some way. If your children can help you with chores, that would be great. If you can get your schoolwork done in the morning and not worrying about the other things around the house until later in the day, that would be good. And also give yourself a break, Anna. It's hard right now. And with multiple children, you're not going to have that spotless house, and that's really okay. It really is okay. Don't worry about it. Make sure you get your rest, make sure you eat, and make sure, everybody washes their hands. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you again in a couple days. Bye.